What's up, and welcome to Nowstalgia Pod, giving you the best of 2021. This is Pat Sheehan, joined by my co-host Dave Martin-Swagger. Dave, year in music 2021. Can you believe it's already the end of the year?
No, it's like 2020 part two. I obviously that's a common refrain from a lot of people about all kinds of things, given the times we're living in. But I do feel that on the music sense, a lot of 2020 things just kind of crept into and stayed hot in 2021, such as The Weeknd and Dua Lipa and Harry Styles. A lot of things just seem to carry over, and I feel like it took a while for us to delineate 2021, and then all of a sudden we're here. It's done already. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, it's insane. When you do as many albums as we do, when you review as many albums as we do, it all can kind of start to blur together. Especially when you're reviewing, like newer bands. Like for example, like Squid and Black Country, New Road, or Black Midi, bands that I really like and I'm definitely growing on, but they're new to me, and the sound can kind of blur together. So I was like, when did that drop? So I was like going back and looking, and I was like, man, these albums dropped in 2021. I thought those were definitely like late last year. And then other albums that dropped more recently felt like they were longer ago. Time is so weird in COVID. And I hope next year we start to get a little bit of a different sense with that. But before we get too far into it, I think it's important that we plug our Nostalgia Best of 2021 playlist on Spotify, because we're going to be talking about a lot of music today. And you can find all of our favorite tracks from all of our favorite projects and a lot of the songs we're going to mention later right there. So follow it there. Also at Nostalgia Pod on Twitter, soundcloud.com/nostalgiapod, and youtube.com/nostalgiapod. So 2021 in music, Dave, good year, bad year, somewhere in between. How are you feeling about it?
I don't think it was quite as strong a music year as 2020. Not a bad year. I feel like I listened to too much music. I like too many artists for it to ever really be a bad year. But making a list and mentally feeling like I just made the last year's list, it doesn't quite compare, I guess. But I think there are some things that stood out about 2021. And the chief thing that really came to a head this year, I would say, is how artists are being credited for the songs they write.
Mm.
Because everyone in the music industry is now afraid of getting sued to the point where any slight interpolation, the smallest inspiration is now credited as a songwriter for a song. And obviously, this is following the Robin Thicke Blurred Lines, Marvin Gaye lawsuit and the fallout from that. And now all the labels are just being very uh, cautious about these things. I mean, Olivia Rodrigo, new to the scene this year, she'll be coming up a lot soon. She kind of got her lunch eaten by Taylor Swift when the only reason this came to be is because Olivia kind of mentioned that she liked Cruel Summer, the Taylor song. And next thing you know, Taylor's credited on the sour song in question. Obviously, sometimes it makes plenty of sense, right? Good for you. You know what? Haley Williams and Paramore, they probably could use the songwriting credit, the inspiration, the formula is obvious. And that mashup between Misery Business and Good for You, maybe that is, in fact, the song of the year because that shit slaps. But I just worry that where we're at now, artists might feel a need to be like extra safe and not be afraid of their inspirations, where in reality music is something that continues to grow and evolve and ideate on what's come before, and we shouldn't be afraid of that. So that was I think the biggest like new 2021 music development to me. Obviously, like TikTok dominating what gets consumed, that's not new. That started pre-pandemic and blew up during the pandemic. So I think the songwriting stuff's definitely something to watch.
Yeah, and to your point about the songwriting credits, actually something that I thought the Grammys did pretty well recently was they basically took off people that were given songwriting credits from potentially winning the Grammy award. If like Olivia Rodrigo and Taylor Swift, for example, Taylor Swift would not be a winner of a Grammy if Olivia Rodrigo's song is chosen. It just makes sense, which I was like, huh, Grammys doing something that makes sense. Very interesting, but I think that that's a good observation. I think as I was going through the list and just kind of reviewing all the music that we've talked about, that we've liked, all the going through the playlist today in the last couple days leading up to this, I was just like struck by how global music is becoming. And I know that that's something that we talk about quite a bit, and that's not a new trend necessarily, but it really feels like the influence from K-pop and from Asia in terms of music is really becoming so much more mainstream. I mean, obviously BTS at the Grammys, what a moment! They were fantastic. We're gonna, I think, be talking about some rappers from the UK. I think there's going to be a lot of Afrobeat and African influence in some of the albums and songs we talk about today. And so, just the continued globalization of the music industry here in America just really stood out to me with all this. I also think there's a good variety of music on my list, which I was pleased to see. Um, I agree. It's probably not as strong of a year. I always harken back to 2019 when we had like Igor and FKA Twigs
Mm.
and Lana Del Rey, and like you could have had like a different top five in any order, but those albums were just undeniable. And I don't feel like these albums are quite to that
Oh,
level.
oh, and Billie Eilish debut album that year
Yep,
too. Oh
it
yeah.
was an unbelievable year. Um, but I do think that there's still some really strong projects here.